The views and opinions expressed in this podcast by the host or the guest do not necessarily reflect the views of Paranormal Buzz Radio or its sponsors. Use of any material produced by Paranormal Buzz Radio without express written consent is strictly prohibited. For information on everything Paranormal Buzz Radio has to offer, visit our website, paranormalbuzzradio.com. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Listener discretion is advised.
Listen in as your host, Casey Colburn, brings together a perfectly picked panel of guests to discuss hot topics and events within the metaphysical and paranormal field. But don't worry, should the discussions get too heated, our studio switch will sound a cackle to simmer the cauldron back down. Listen for new episodes of Cauldron Talk with Casey Colburn every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. only on Paranormal Buzz Radio. Welcome back, listeners. This is Season 3, Episode 2. Today we are talking about all things me. This is a little bit different, and I must admit, I'm lost with this one. But it's been brought to my attention that I've never fully introduced myself, so here it goes. Start from the beginning. I grew up in Jamestown, New York, which is a small town in western New York. It's absolutely beautiful here. I really enjoy living here, and I am happy that I was able to be raised here as well. It's very pretty. Very well, just family-oriented, community-oriented, and I really enjoy that about Jamestown. So my family life, too, was very close-knit. We, just like every other family, I suppose, it was big. My mom has 3 children on her side, my dad has 3 on his side, and then between the 2 of them, they have me and my little sister. So it was a big family. And we all, for the most part, got along. There was all little squabbles and things like that, but we all got along for the most part. We're pretty well gifted and talented, so we all had our own little niches and things like that. So it was kind of nice to be able to support and share in each other's interests. So it was definitely a good upbringing. When it comes to the paranormal and things like that, my mom is a traditional Native American, so she believes more in the traditional ways or that of the longhouse. And my dad didn't really have any faith or anything quite like that. He believed in stuff, but not on a worship level, I suppose. And that made it kind of a little bit easier, coming up and deciding that I'm going more with pagan and, trying to feel out what kind of religion and things that I wanted to go into. It made it easier for me to be able to look into other religions and just kind of be educated on them. There's so many different things, as you know from listening to the show, that there's just so much misinformation. And growing up, I got to learn that not everything is exactly what they want you to think or, that it might seem. So I'm definitely well-rooted in this, and it's been a life journey so far of just learning it and trying to get that information out there. Back to the paranormal, growing up, we had several haunted homes, as it seems. It's almost like Jamestown was just full of them. The first house that I lived on was on Willard Street, and there was a little girl named Peaches that lived there. She was pushed out the second-story window, and that's how she met her death. It wasn't, on purpose. It was her little brother. He, gave her a jump scare, and she ended up just falling out the window from that. But she was an active, intelligent ghost. And she would wake us up, tickling us in the middle of the night, or laughing, or playing with our toys, or trying to get us up out of bed to go play, that type of thing. And then when we did move, she ended up just throwing all of our dishes on the floor. She was that upset. So it was kind of an interesting thing. And definitely, my first paranormal, experience without really understanding that it was a paranormal experience, if that makes sense. So that was that was interesting. I don't remember feeling scared or anything. Sometimes annoyed because, I'd be sleeping and she'd be trying to wake me up. And she did this with me and my niece, Cynthia. So it was not just a personal experience, but like a shared experience throughout the family. Everybody had something from her. So that was kind of makes it a little bit more interesting to me. Now, we did move quite a few times throughout the years. It was quite a few homes, really. We even went out to Washington State for some time, and that was kind of fun. The house that we were gonna buy out there was like, I don't know, like out of a storybook for a haunting. Like it just looked haunted, but very cool at the same time. The second home that we lived in though was on Newland, and that one was a little bit scarier for me. I remember when we first moved in, my dad started cleaning out the basement, and in the back of the basement, there was this room that was just like boarded up, like completely. Like it had like a window on it. I don't know what kind of tool shed thing it was that was down in there. But it was definitely like a work area, but it was all boarded up completely. And I remember when he popped it open, there were a couple of things in jars, and he just tossed them away. Again, he didn't really believe in that type of thing or, superstition or anything like that, so he just tossed them away. But one of the things that was in a jar was a rabbit's foot, so I don't know if there was, like, witchcraft with it. I was, like, 5, 6 years old at the time, so I don't really know what was in the jar. Um, but I remember that there was just this, like rotten air that came out of that room. And it was right after that we started having some of the paranormal activity in the home there. And that was, oh geez, that was a lot of different things. You name it, we had it going on there, I guess. Like the footsteps, the hearing things, seeing things move, things coming up missing. Um, just a bunch of different things. Seeing shadow people. Um, just everything and anything was happening really, besides, being possessed and head spinning around. We didn't have that, but um, your classic haunting, I suppose, is what I would call it. So that was kind of, I guess, my first experience of a haunting that I didn't necessarily understand or appreciate. It was definitely um, scarier. But eventually, all of this kind of led me into what I do now, which is I'm a paranormal investigator and I work at the Hinsdale House. If you guys don't know what that is, it's a haunted house in Hinsdale, New York. It was built in 1853 and it had an exorcism performed on the property in the 70s. So it's definitely an interesting location. And if you get a chance and are interested in that type of thing, definitely go investigate there. Um, but I also do sometimes I do the tours at the Dunkirk Lighthouse, which is another great location. All the money that goes to these places goes right back into the restoration and upkeep of the properties. So I really enjoy that part too. That it's not just pocketing and just making money off spirit. So I do enjoy that. I think the thing though that really got me into the paranormal field was having abilities growing up. When I was living on Willard, one of the first things that surfaced was the ability to communicate with animals, which I know I've mentioned on here before. But that really did have a big thing for me. Even with just working with dogs when I became a dog trainer. That definitely helped me out quite a bit, and still to today it helps me out. It's not like Dr. Doolittle or anything like that. I wish it was. That would be much cooler. But this is more like, I don't know, like a telepathy type thing. Like I get visuals or a feeling or just like an understanding of what it is that they're saying to me, what it is that they're conveying. So it definitely helps. I pick up on little behaviors that people won't even notice very quickly. Um, and that helps me determine what is happening in a certain situation. I work with a lot of dogs, or worked with a lot of dogs that were dealing with anxiety or aggression issues. So being able to do that really has helped just save a lot of dogs, keep them in the homes that they're in and not being euthanized or, stuck in a shelter. So it definitely has been a big part of my life. But where the paranormal comes into play is I also can communicate with spirit. And so going into locations that I kind of already have a sense of what's going on there because it's been reported makes it a little bit more safe for somebody that's just starting out or just wanting to practice their abilities. It makes it safer for them because we already know what's going on in that location. So we know what to kind of expect. There's still risk with it, but it's not like just opening myself up and just going into a location that I have absolutely no idea what's going on. That can be a little bit more dangerous. You're opening yourself up to the unknown. So that's why I really got into the paranormal field with the investigating side, and I'm continuing on with it. Along with the paranormal stuff, I also like to do some of the experimenting. So I've got like an astral projection experiment that I've been working on. I've got a Tesla coil charging crystal experiment. I don't really have a name for that one just yet, but that's one that I'm working on. Me and Daniel Class at the Hinsdale House got to do that, and the crystal did actually hold a charge, so that was really cool. With my astral projection experiment, the idea is to come through a spirit box. I was able to do that once, but for it to be a good experiment, we have to do it multiple times, and it just is finding time to be able to do that is been the issue. I also have a EMF canine experiment that I'm doing where I'm training my dog R2 to detect EMF, just the same as like if you were to train your dog for search and rescue and that type of thing, or like um, finding bombs and things like that. We can train our dogs to find EMF markers as well. So I really enjoy getting into all of that part too, which I understand might seem a little weird because I am into the spiritual side of things too, so I'm kind of working both sides of the field there. But I think that's important. I think, a lot of things do have a scientific reason for it. We just maybe haven't discovered it yet. So I think that's kind of cool. And I'm going to keep poking around and playing as much as I can. And if it turns out to be nothing, I guess that's okay too. So besides the experiments, the investigations, and all of that side of things, I also do gardens for ghosts, which is a way for me to give back to these locations and to the spirits at these locations. Basically, I fundraise and then I get enough material or money for gardens, and then I go to the locations and I donate a garden to that location. It helps kind of dress things up, it builds positivity, and it shows spirits that we're not all just here for just to communicate and ask the same questions over and over again. It kind of gives me a different reason to be there and to connect with them. So I really enjoy that. And then beyond all of that, including my podcast, I also do sometimes I offer readings, which is like tarot readings or sometimes pendulum and I do like have I Ching and things like that I can do. Um, but I don't really advertise that too much or anything. And usually it's just on Facebook and like a select, handful of people. So, um, but I do readings. I do also try to explain to my sitters that a tarot reading is different than spirit communication. While spirit communication can still happen, it's not a guaranteed thing, but they're still going to get that tarot reading regardless. Um, but that's something else that I do. So I'm a little bit all over the place with all of my things. With the pendulums, I do use those also in my investigations. I also use dowsing rods. I like to use like a mix of equipment. So the more, I guess what you would say is metaphysical or old school ways. And then I like to use some of the more modern equipment too, like the REM pods and things like that. I don't have like a millimeter yet, but that's on the to-do list. Um, but yeah, so I like to keep it very eclectic, just like me. And the projects are nonstop. Oh, another thing that I'm doing is I am writing a grimoire. And this really is because of my niece starting her path now. She's really needed to reach out and ask all these different questions. So it got me thinking, well, maybe I can just make there like a physical form of, me like that she can just take with her. And then if she has questions, it's right there. Um, and it's going to be covering just about everything that I do. I mean, it's not like your typical Wiccan grimoire or any of that. It's very eclectic. There's a little bit of everything in there, and it's just for beginners, so it's not going to go into anything with great detail. But it's a good intro book, so that's going to be something that I'm very excited for. That'll be coming out soon. And I've already started working on the second book, which is going to go into more in depth on all of the different subjects and kind of really get you working into your craft. And making it more just applicable to everyday life. So I'm very excited about that stuff. I think that's going to be wonderful. With my metaphysical stuff, I do also do like the medicine work, or at least what I call medicine work at the Hinsdale House, which is where I give offerings to spirits. I keep the peace. Um, I am constantly cleaning out the energies that people are bringing, not the energies that were there, but the energies that people were bringing. Um, Maybe, they're doing it just without knowing, or maybe they did it with, complete intent. Regardless, they don't have the permissions to do that. So um, I get that all out of there and keep the spirits happy that way because, they don't want all that added energy there. So, um, that's something else that I do with my metaphysical work. And yeah, I think that covers just about everything about me. Besides some of the more like human things, I suppose. Let's see. I guess in the human world, I am also getting a dog park for Jamestown, New York, which is going to be super fun. I'm so excited and so happy about that. I want it to be named after one of the canines that died while on duty. So I think that would be perfect for him. So it'd be if I get my way with it, it'll be called Pombers Park. And I just yeah, I'm into a little bit of everything pretty much with all this stuff. The dog park is kind of a way to give back to the dogs in Jamestown. I worked with hundreds of them, and this is kind of like my ode to Any Paws, which was my dog training business. And kind of the last little hurrah for that while I kind of retire all of that to go into all the paranormal stuff. Um, One other thing that I do with the paranormal is um, I apprenticed with Brian J. Cano of Haunted Collector and Paranormal Con on Camera. That was pretty cool. We did that for a couple of years. I'm taking a break right now, but I'm sure I'll get back to doing that. I'm also working for Nick Roth for customer support, and I'm actually currently working on a few creative projects for him as well. And yeah, I just continue to keep learning and growing and spreading the information as I go and try to just keep promoting positivity and fact. So yeah, this was me, and I'm happy that I could finally fully introduce myself. And if you guys have any questions, just let me know. I'm happy to answer anything and go into more detail if you would like. Um, And if you're interested in learning more about me, just go to CaseyColburn.com. I've got my my astral projection thing is on there too, my experiment. So if you wanted to listen to that, that's on there. I definitely, if you're interested in that type of thing, I definitely recommend giving that a look. Yeah, thanks for listening. Thank you for joining my circle tonight. It was a pleasure to discuss this spooky topic with you, and a thank you to all my listeners for tuning in. And as always, dreadful dreams. Remember, my darlings, to always be kind to those around you, including our friends with claws, fangs, and fur.